I rise in support of this legislation, which expresses condolences to the families of the 46 South Korean sailors who recently lost their lives to a North Korea torpedo attack. And this resolution appropriately stands in solidarity with our South Korean ally in the wake of this assault. Last week, South Korea unveiled the results of an international investigation, a quite methodical one, into the cause of the sinking of this South Korean naval vessel, and the evidence overwhelmingly showed what many were all but certain occurred on that March 26th. It showed that this ship was indeed sunk by a North Korean torpedo attack in clear violation of the Korean War armistice. Madam Speaker, this incident is offering long-lasting clarity across Asia after years of delusions about North Korea. Reality is now setting in. In Seoul, it is offering clarity about the brutal nature of the Stalinist regime that operates in the north. Earlier today, South Korea President Lee Myung-bak addressed the nation, and he announced that North Korea vessels will be blocked from South Korean waters. He announced also the resumption of radio broadcasts into the north, and he announced that cooperative activity with North Korea is meaningless. Importantly, he recognized that now is the time for the North Korean regime to change. Seoul is coming to grips with years of a failed sunshine policy of previous administrations that hoped against hope that North Korea could be dealt with as a normal state. In Tokyo, the attack is offering clarity about the role of U.S. forces in the region. Largely because of North Korea's provocation, Japan's new government seems poised to accept a relocation of U.S. forces on Okinawa. This isn't just an issue for the U.S. and Japan, but has regional implications, as U.S. forces there provide breathing space for others in the region, including South Korea, which has been alarmed by the dispute. This crisis is also offering clarity about Beijing's role in Northeast Asia and beyond. Because despite an international investigation which included cooperation from Australian and British and Swedish and U.S. investigators working with their South Korean counterparts, China has now announced that it will complete its own assessment of the sinking of the ship. Beijing merely called the murder of these 46 sailors unfortunate. Beijing's meek reply came days after it rolled out the red carpet for Kim Jong-il and reportedly showered him with 100,000 tons of food and 100 million in other aid. Today, with senior U.S. officials in China for talks, there are reports that China and the U.S. still are not on the same page with respect to UN sanctions on Iran. So much for a responsible China. The U.S. should support the efforts of South Korea to take their evidence to the UN Security Council. That should be the next step. I have had the opportunity to read accounts in which some have said, well, this might be futile given the fact that Beijing could veto such an act. Well, why not press and make them show the world where Beijing stands? Does Beijing stand with Kim Jong-il and his recklessness, or with order and peace, not to mention standing with the grieving families of the victims of Kim Jong-il in this case? This House is right to stand in solidarity with our South Korean ally. This torpedo attack should offer clarity for U.S. policy toward North Korea as well. It should wake us up to the nature of the North Korean regime and the possibility of dealing diplomatically with that government in North Korea. This morning, Secretary of State Clinton offered a statement that, quote, "We asked North Korea to stop its provocative behavior, take irreversible steps to fulfill its denuclearization commitments, and comply with international law." Well, Madam Speaker, anyone who has been watching North Korea over the last 2 months or the last 2 years knows that statement has no bearing on reality. U.S. officials have said that it can no longer be business as usual with respect to North Korea. But that statement is business as usual. North Korea won't take such steps until there is a fundamental change in the government there. And those who have pushed fruitless nuclear negotiations with North Korea in this administration and in the last administration and ignored the type of regime we are dealing with have to ask themselves why North Korea's only definitive response to that engagement has come on top of a torpedo. Madam Speaker, today we rightly condemn this attack and show solidarity with our South Korean ally, but we can and should be doing more in the days and weeks ahead to show resolve in the face of North Korean aggression. There is a long list of steps that Washington and Seoul can and should take in lockstep to strengthen deterrence in the region and to show that 46 deaths will not go unanswered. We could be relisting North Korea as a state sponsor of terrorism. We could be speeding defense sales and targeting North Korea's illicit activities like counterfeiting of $100 U.S. bills and drug running. Congress could also pass the U.S.-Korea Free Trade Agreement, demonstrating that there will be no retreat by the U.S. from Northeast Asia. I look forward to working with my colleagues to strengthen the U.S.-South Korean alliance, which has been a vital anchor for security in Asia for more than 50 years. And I look forward to hopefully doing that in the immediate weeks to come.